Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Shino, and we're back in our Let's Learn series of Rustbound Magic. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. All right, would like to start off by saying a couple of things here. We're going to start off each episode kind of the same way. First thing I want to do, though, is I would like to say thank you for the views on the first video. We're up over 1,000 views already, which is fantastic. I do appreciate that. That does show there's a lot of interest in this mod pack. So I do appreciate that. We'll keep it going. Secondly, thank you for the comments. Stannis, as one of my viewers, been around for a while, did say that he's enjoying it. So I do appreciate that very, very much. And also, Faildre said the new elemental mobs drop rusty dust, elemental crystals, and I think the shifting fibers as well. So I do appreciate the little help on that, the little tips. Keep them coming. Let me know what you're finding out about the mod pack, and we'll learn this. As I've said, I don't know this mod pack, or I don't know this mod under its new version. I've only played it under 1.19.8. So I'm learning this, and I'm sure some of you are learning this as well. And so together, we'll just learn it together. I think that'll work out pretty good. As we are learning this, one of the things I would like to do at the beginning of each episode is kind of go over what I see as the progression roadmap. And what I'll do is I'll talk about it, and I'll put it up here on the screen as well so that you can kind of see what I'm thinking. And then we'll just talk about each time that we make advancements, or if we figure something else out that's a little bit different, I will update the roadmap, right? And that way we can kind of get a better understanding of how we do it. That's what I would do if I was learning this mod pack for myself, which I am right now. But if I was doing this solo and you weren't here with me, I would still do the same thing. I make a little note about each step that I uncover, and I put that information onto a sheet that I can then adjust and move steps up, steps down, things like that. Okay. But what I'll do is when we talk about this, I'll also list out what episode we talked about. So that way, if you want to go back and learn about something, you can do that. In each episode, you'll see. So step one, what we came up with was get unstable rift blooms and plant to get shifting fibers and rusty dust. So we've done that here, right? We've planted the unstable and they've turned into just the stable ones. We cultivate those and we get the shifting fibers and the rusty dust. Then we take and we lower our temporal stability down to 10% or less. And we shift right click with some rusty dust in our hand, and that unlocks magic. That's what gives us our mana bar. And then we advance our mana by going around and looking at, things in the world that are from Rustbound Magic. And we do meditation on it. So here's a good example, right? We looked at these the other day, but you see there's something inside there, and it says it's researchable. So I'm going to go ahead and hit G, and we're going to sit down here and we're going to research that. Is it gonna do it? Doesn't look like it's gonna unlock it, does it? Oh, because I don't have my hand empty. Should be. There we go. There's the meditation. So let me pop back up and get away from here for just a second. Kind of let things refresh, and then we're gonna try to look at that thing again. Because it says it's researchable. All right, see that researchable? So let's hit G again. Now let's see if I can do it right. Should be about 5 seconds. No, it's not. Okay. So I wonder why that won't let me research it. There's a bad guy. Remember, we are on... we've got mobs turn to passive. One of the things also I do want to talk about is with the drop rate of the rift blooms when you cultivate them, it looks like you get about maybe 66% of the ones that you harvest you'll get a seed off of. So that is a pretty good indicator that while you are oh boy, getting all kinds of stuff. While you are trying to grow these and cultivate them over here, you're not going to get the seeds back at the same rate that you're harvesting them. So you will need to kind of keep that in mind. You're probably going to be harvesting from rift blooms for a while. Okay, so that is our progression roadmap as I see it right now. Next step we're going to be doing is, let's pull up the book. And I will pass the night here in just a moment. We're not going to sleep through it. We're just going to use the command here. Let's do that now. We're going to do time set morning. There we go. We'll just pass it along there. Can I research this guy? Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay. Let's grab our book. Let's go back into it. And we're going to be making the thaumic workbench is the next step that we're going to be doing. Now, I had a little bit of a hiccup in recording. So I had actually made the thaumic workbench and then realized that things weren't recording properly. So I kind of went back and got rid of it, got my resources back and said, let's do it one more time on camera. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do this and that. And that we're going to make our thaumic workbench. So yeah, you're not going to get the ding like I did the first time, and I'll apologize for that. There it is. There's our thaumic workbench. Open this thing up and take a look at it. We just see a normal crafting grid here. We see an output, kind of cool. Looking at it, the info tip itself, we can see that the thaumic workbench, it does say connected magic stations is 0. So that tells me that more than likely we're going to need to look at you. That we're probably going to have to hook up essence generators to them. Yeah, that's what I think. All right, so let's go back in and take a look. And now we can see that we got the proper workbench done. And then it's opened up a few more things. We can see untapped potential, research all magical blocks. And we also say research all ancient artifacts from the rust. So those are a couple of additional like side quests looks like we need to do. Magic for everyday use says acquire a utility block. So let's see if we can do research on what a utility block is. All right, I don't see utility block, but I do see utility frames, and that is from Rustbound Magic. And this looks a lot like probably what we would do for making the Nexus generators that we made before. I did want to look and see on the Nexus. Doesn't have one. How about Essence? Neutral, light, dark. And let's type in generator. There's an anti-magic generator, a mana stream generator. We know what that does. An obelisk generates neutral essence to power other magical devices. Neutral essence generators. This magic station will generate neutral essence by consuming certain magical items as a fuel, such as the various types of arcanus or temporal gears. Essence is an invisible force that exists everywhere in the world and comes in neutral, light, and dark types. Using a resonator, this essence can flow from an essence generator into various magical stations to power them. Magic stations, these are essential blocks that are linked to various magic systems. Each magic station serves a specific purpose and are foundations for magical progression. So an obelisk, I don't see. Okay, it does say it's used, that the Sigil of World Essence is used in a ritual that creates an obelisk. So we're going to do world magic for that. All right. So if I were to guess, we are going to need to get the arcanus. What are we going to need for the staff, the apprentice staff? We're going to need the arcanus for that. Yep. So our next step is going to be, let's get an arcanus. That's what we're going to have to do. So we're going to have to do some battling, it looks like. And we're going to have to fight some things. So if I go back in here and look at arcanus, you can still see it is, you get the arcanus itself by killing ravagers. But your killing the sentries and the drones will get you the elemental crystals. So we got to kill some of those guys. So let's get us a sword made, shall we? All right. Well, it has been a couple of in-game days. I have my sword. Here's one. I was going to say these guys are not showing up anymore. I got my sword. I wanted to try it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this guy. I am in creative mode right now. So 4, 5. And he dropped. Okay. I just wanted to check and see. I mean, this is kind of new to me here. Let me go back into, okay. So yeah, rusty dust, small rust crystal are some things that you can get from there. Okay. So it took about 5 hits with the copper sword. We're going to try this, you know, just normal. We have the ability to protect ourselves. We're not going to lose our stuff, right? So I just wanted to see how hard it would be, how many hits you got to get on those guys to be able to knock them down. So it looks like 5 hits. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to go into, I'll be in creative mode just so I can find another one. And then once we find them, well, if they're flying, how do we get them? That's interesting. I didn't think about that. If they're flying in the air, how do you bring them down? Spears? What if they aggro? Well, these won't aggro if they're passive, right? So I may have to hit them and then see if I can get them to aggro that way. Interesting. Okay. All right, we're going to try this. It worked. Okay. Is he going to come down after me now? Looks like it. Oh, okay. Oh, made me dizzy. All right, that's no fun. Too hard for me to get them while they're that high up, right? Here we go. You can see damage I don't think was too bad, but I can see a couple of issues there that, you know, you definitely need a ranged weapon. And I think that just kind of proves to me that, you know, the amount that you're going to have to kill is going to have to be quite a few. Since they're not always guaranteed to get you what you're looking for, that kind of gives me an idea now that, yeah, we're going to have to probably kill quite a few of those. If we're going to create the arcanus, if we're going straight after the ravengers, then maybe that's something we can do. Let's spawn in a ravenger. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just 4 hits. So they're not as, okay. So those are not as strong, but their loot is better. Let's see what their drop rate looks like. Okay, shifting fibers, primordial fragment, and a rusty gear. Rusty dust. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, so we can see that, yeah, with these, you're going to have to kill quite a few of these. So that's going to be your gate for being able to get to move on is how many of those can you get rid of and dispatch, and how many of those can you get some decent RNG rolls out of. All right, let me I'm gonna have to find some more of these so we can make our arcanus, and we have a small rust crystal. I'm gonna hit H on that, and yep, we can use that for making the arcanus. We got a primordial fragment. What are we gonna do with this thing? Primordial fragment, a collection of metal fragments held together by a mysterious force, uses reagents in some rituals, obtained by killing, and it's an ingredient for Eldrithium bits, for the spell forge, and for the scroll of binding, and we can create it through the ritual of creation or the ritual of destruction. All right. Hey, I think I know what I need to do now. So I'm going to check these rifts really quick. I saw we had one here, but there was nothing in it. I wanted to try to do that ritual one more time, or that, do the knowledge thing to see if maybe I can do some more research. So let me spend some time running around, and if I find one, I'll come back. All right, now this is interesting, but it does say it's too unstable to meditate with. I'm kind of curious what will happen if I break it, though. It says it requires the tool tier 2 copper to break. Okay, I got some stuff out of it. All right, so it too unstable to research. I got that. Let's do /M1. Let's see what we got. We got a transmog stone out of that. An enchanted stone. Stone imbued with magic essence. Mages can nap these into sigils. Mages can nap this into sigils. Second stone is also needed. Yeah. And yet I have still not found any more of the sentries roaming around. Which is really kind of, I don't know if it's unusual or not, but kind of disconcerted about that, because I do need to gather up a couple more of those. And if I don't find any here shortly, I can probably go ahead and just cheat in what I need. Look at that. 2 rifts right here next to each other. We'll try to put them like right here between these two. See what that does. Hey, I just ended up breaking another one of those artifacts that was inside there. And look, I got an arcanus out of that. So that tells me that probably the right thing to do would be, you can farm those drones to try to get your elementals, or you can look for those ancient artifacts inside the rift. So I'm going to put down, as far as the progression map goes, you probably want to do that, is farm the rifts for the ancient artifacts. Cool. So that gives me the arcanus. What else can we do with this arcanus? So we can use that for making a crucible, oculus core, the sanctum, spellforge, enchanted shallix, magic chalk, the runic scroll, the apprentice staff, which that's what we want to make. That's what we're going to be making right now, is doing that. Created by thaumic workbench only, requires magic tier 1. So my curiosity is, I see that this says that it needs to have a magic station connected to it. So do I need to provide it with essence? Proper workbench, a new arcanus source, we see that, and then it says acquire a staff for spellcasting. So yeah, that is the next natural step for us to do. 2 of those, and 1 of those. And that gives us our first staff. Cool. You've unlocked the achievement. You're a wizard, Harry. You're a hairy wizard. Check the manual of magic arts for a new guide. Let's open that up, and here's our guide. Casting spells and crucibles. All right, this says the art of spell casting. A major perk of being a mage is the ability to cast spells by channeling mana into various objects. Mages can do almost anything from launching destructive spells to augmenting other seraphs to go beyond their limits. Every spell falls into a different spell school. There are 4 primary spell schools. Evocation specializes in elemental energies, mainly destructive combat spells. Alteration specializes in bestowing attribute buffs and healing magic. Incantation specializes in manipulation and enchanting objects' properties. Conjuration specializes in summoning objects from the void. Innate is the final spell school and is reserved for a select few spells that all mages have as soon as they unlock magic, such as transmutation. Staves, this is the primary tool for any mage as it gives them the ability to cast spells. As a mage walks down the path of magic, they will become familiar with researching a spell, creating a grimoire, soul binding to a sanctum, and using a staff. For now, these systems will be discussed in later guides. Transmutation, this is an innate spell that all mages receive upon unlocking magic. Think of this spell as a catalyst spell, something responsible for interacting with specific blocks in unique ways. Look for blocks with the transmutable tag in the hover over block info. This spell is something all mages will use for various tasks throughout their magical journeys, such as completing rituals and synthesizing grimoires. Note that the potency of this spell depends on the spellcasting tool. The spell transmutation can be cast using the apprentice staff. The spell has an AoE of 3x3x3 and will increase resource yields when used to harvest mature rift blooms. Okay. Over using a knife. A magician's staff will be able to cast greater transmutation, and an archmage staff will be able to cast superior transmutation. Each version has an increased AoE and further enhances resource yields when used to harvest rift blooms. Crucible and magical crafting. Not all things can or should be crafted solely in the thaumic. Workbench, some objects, especially those originating from magic like arcanus, are better crafted in magical ways. There is a specific mage station that can use latent primordial rust to create new and powerful magical objects. This is a multi-block structure called the crucible. Start with crafting a crucible. If you know the layout, you can build it right away. The blocks one can use for the frame parts are enchanted stone, zegonite, astrolith, or netherite of any type. A runestone is also needed. If you do not know the structure layout, place the crucible down. I recommend to place it one block above the ground. Then right mouse click to see the highlighted 3D model or what the structure looks like. White equals frame, green equals runestone. To turn it off, just right mouse click it again to complete the multi-block structure. When the crucible is complete, a portal will appear in the center and the crucible will go into the idle state. While the crucible is idle, simply throw an item into the center portal to start the process. Regular items like arcanus will make the crucible enter craft mode and will hold on to that item. Crucible block info will have the item it is set to create and the ingredient needed. After that, just throw or Q. That was something that we learned in the previous version of Rustbound Magic. You couldn't drop a stack on there by dragging it out of your inventory. It would not work. You had to use Q. After that, just throw the needed ingredients into the center portal. When it has all the ingredients, it will create the item and place it on top of the crucible block. The runestones used dictates the tier of objects you can create. To turn off the crucible, just shift right mouse click it to put it back to idle. This will drop the currently held item and place it on top of the crucible block. Send it to a new magical tier. Special items like the relic of awakening or the relic of transcendence will make the crucible change how it works. These items specifically will allow it to start a magic tier upgrade mode. To move to a new magic tier, the process is pretty simple. Get your max mana from magical experience to either 50 to move from tier 1 to tier 2 or 200. Moving from tier 2 to tier 3. Only magical experience max mana is used. You will know you qualify if you see a green arrow that'll be down there on the HUD next to your mana bar. Create either the relic of awakening or the relic of transcendence. So the desired sigil into the idle crucible. You'll see the portal change and the block info will state it is in magic tier upgrade status. Enter the portal and start meditation. You will need full mana for the upgrade timer to begin. You'll receive a notification that the process starts and you'll see particles appear. After 10 seconds, the process is done and you move to the next magic tier. It's important to level up your magic tier when you're able. Keep growing as a mage. Each tier has a max amount of max mana you can get through magical experience. Tier 1 is 51. Tier 2 is 201. Tier 3 has no limit. And new ritual, grimoires, and crafting recipes open up. The crucible should be used to create various arcanus, or should be used to create various arcanus, Adrithian bits, and elemental crystals when possible. So that tells me that's probably going to be a major way to level your magical experience. Mages are able to imbue their grimoire spells into one-time use tradable scrolls anyone can use. There's a short cast time, no mana cost, and even non-mages can use them. That's cool. All right, so let's test out our staff. We're going to hold on the shift key and right click, and that'll open up our spells. Looks a little different from before, but there we go. We got the transmutation spell. It triggers changes in some objects in a 3x3x3 area. Minor increase to Rift Bloom yields. It costs 2 mana to do, and it is a 4-second cast time. So I'm going to, since it does a 3x3 area, I'm going to cast it right there on that. So I'm going to left mouse click. Nope, I'm going to right mouse click and hold. Cool. Now, did it give us any extra seeds? That's what I'm curious about. Oh, it probably did give us seeds, but my inventory was overfull. That's unfortunate. Okay, let's try that again. Went ahead and advanced the day. So that's going to give us now 3. If we cast it right here, so we got 3 plants that we're going to be testing to harvest on. We are back out of creative mode, so release. All right, so we harvested 3 plants, and number of seeds that we got was 3. All right, so does that mean with transmutation we're going to get a 1-to-1? Let's test it again. If we test right there, we should get 5 plants harvested. Okay, we got 5 plants, so if we are getting 1-to-1, we should have 8 seeds now. We do have 8 seeds now, so yes, that's cool. So once we get our first spell, we can start harvesting more efficiently and not have to spend so much time hunting the rifts down to harvest additional seeds. All right, let's do this again. 4 more there. Oh, we can't. All right, so let's see what it does. If I go ahead and try to cast, it says failed to cast, insufficient mana. Got it. Okay, just want to double check that. It does have a check system on it. And let's see what it does when it gets to full mana. It says that you won't lose any more temporal stability, and that does appear to be the case. Yeah, so that's good. Cool. All right, so now we should have enough. And if you take a look, you can see, let me do it this way. See this little bar right here? There's our magical experience. So we're almost 50% towards our next level. And I believe at our next level, we will get another mana bar there. And I see you. So let's take a look at some other things that we can transmute, shall we? So I know that in previous versions, we could transmute seeds or leaf blocks. And let's go check that out. Make sure that still works. So it does say transmutable. So yes, we can. And that's going to give us our tons and tons and tons of sticks. Much better way of gathering up sticks. All right, let's do one more. Now, when you do the sticks, you don't get a chance of getting a seed back. Okay, so you got to kind of balance that between, hey, do I need a bunch of these seeds or not? So like, for example, I would not do that on walnut trees, right? Because I need, walnuts don't drop at that great of a rate. But birch, yeah, I would do that with birch. Pine, wouldn't have a problem doing that with pine to get my sticks. So I see another one over there. Just doing the transmutation spell, I have now leveled up to the next mana tier, or not mana tier, but the next, my mana's increased. So I now have a total mana of 12. So yeah, using your spells is one way that you're going to use or increase your mana. So look for things that say transmutable. And that's something that you're going to cast that spell on just in the beginning when you're first trying to learn stuff. All right, so been doing a little bit of research here, trying to figure out, what's the next thing that we need to be doing. And we know for sure one of the things we need to be doing is continuing to harvest and to continue to harvest the drones, ravagers, and probably searching the rifts looking for ancient artifacts and getting those. I wanted to look at making the crucible. So this is the crucible we're going to need to make right here. And I noticed that one of the things it calls for is obsidian stone. For the Eldrithium resonator, it calls for an Eldrithium ingot. Yeah, I'm not seeing how to make, I guess right here, primordial fragments, rustic compound, and obsidian stone. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So we're going to need quite a bit of obsidian stone for doing this. Now, obsidian in Vintage Story only occurs in areas where there is basalt. Put that on your shopping list whenever you're out looking for items when you're playing Rustbound Magic. You're going to need basalt. So I'm going to do a quick check and look around and see if I can find a basalt area and see how far away it is. If I don't find it here real quick, I'll go ahead and just bring some in so we can get to making the crucible. All right, I have traveled a good long distance, probably 6,000 blocks in every direction, and no basalt in this area. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to get it in here, but I am going to update the progression roadmap. And I'm going to kind of list it that basalt is obsidian is something you're going to need to obtain really before you get started into Rustbound Magic. Looking at the crucible, to make this, you're going to need at least 2 blocks of obsidian stone, or 2 obsidian stone for that one. Looking at this, to make the 1 Eldrithium ingot, you're going to need to make 4 crafts of the bits, and that is going to require, another 4 there. So you're going to need at least 6 of the obsidian stones to be able to progress. Oh, I wanted to look at something else. The other thing I need to look at is the rustic compound, and that's going to require shifting fibers, rusty dust, and some rot. So that's not too bad. That one's not too bad to make. Okay. And the primordial fragment, you get that from the Ravagers. So we've gotten a couple of those already, right? I think they're in my inventory still. 1. I've got 1 so far. So going to need quite a bit more of that. Definitely want to say having obsidian is probably going to be your gate to deciding whether you can get into Rustbound Magic, or when you can. It's when you have access to, let me put it this way. You can get into Rustbound Magic, and we're in Rustbound Magic. You just can't make the crucible and progress really much farther until you have the obsidian. So yeah, I'm still going to change that on the progression roadmap to indicate that. Otherwise, here's what we're going to do. There's still a lot of things that I need for being able to, before we can go into making the crucible. Between episodes, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on getting everything together that I need for the crucible, and definitely want to go ahead and, now that I've got an anvil, go ahead and start making the chest, so that I can start moving my storage and do better storage capabilities. Okay? All right, folks. Hey, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for spending time with me. This is Shino. Next episode, we will be back to start working on the crucible and continuing our progression to see if we can learn more about Rustbound Magic. Thanks for spending time with me, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.